A 3-year-old girl named Norma Jean is playing peacefully in the backyard of her foster home when a woman with red hair suddenly appears. "You're coming with Mommy, sweetheart," the woman says, snatching the confused child. Minutes later, the little girl finds herself stuffed inside a military duffel bag, screaming as her biological mother tries to escape with her. This terrifying moment would become the first of many traumas that shaped the woman who would become Marilyn Monroe. The incident that happened at 459 East Rhode Island Street in Hollywood wasn't just a custody dispute. It was the beginning of a lifetime pattern of abandonment and fear that would follow her to her grave. Tonight, I'll reveal how this single childhood trauma created the insecurities that defined Marilyn Monroe's entire life, and why she spent 33 years searching for the love she lost that day. Subscribe now to discover the heartbreaking truth behind Hollywood's most tragic icon. June 13, 1926. Hawthorne, California. I am 2 weeks old when the woman who gave birth to me hands me over to strangers. Her name is Gladys Baker, but she might as well be a ghost. She visits on weekends, bringing gifts and promises she can't keep, then disappears back into her own fractured world. The Bollenders become my real family. Ida and Wayne, strict but loving, religious people who run their household like a sanctuary. There's me, and Lester, and Nancy, and other foster children who come and go like seasons. We climb the fig tree in the backyard, drag blankets up into the branches, and make forts where we can pretend the world is safe. Ida calls me our little Norma Jean, but she's careful to remind me that I'm not really theirs. "I'm not your mother," she says when I cry for her at night. But her hands are gentle when she braids my hair, and her voice is the one that sings me to sleep. I don't understand why the red-haired woman comes to visit me. She smells different from Ida, like perfume and sadness. She takes me to the beach sometimes, holds me for photographs, tells me stories about the movies. But there's something in her eyes that frightens me, something wild and desperate that makes the other adults whisper when she's around. They don't tell me that my mother, my real mother, they say, is sick. That she talks to people who aren't there, that she sees dangers hiding in shadows, that the same illness destroyed her own mother before her. They don't tell me that Gladys Baker is fighting a war inside her own mind, and losing. All I know is that when she visits, the house feels different. Tense. Like everyone is holding their breath, waiting for something terrible to happen. The Bollenders want to adopt me. I hear them talking about it in hushed voices when they think I'm asleep. They've filled out papers, they've talked to lawyers, they've even picked out a room that would be mine forever. But somewhere in a hospital, a woman who barely knows me keeps saying no. I don't understand that this legal battle is happening over my future. I don't know that there are court dates and custody hearings and social workers making decisions about where I'll live. I'm just a little girl who wants to belong somewhere, to someone, permanently. In 1929, I turned 3. I can climb trees and tie my shoes and recite Bible verses that Ida teaches me. I know all the other children in the neighborhood, and they know me as Norma Jean Bollender. This is my life, my family, my home. I have no idea that in a few weeks, everything will change. I have no idea that my biological mother is planning something that will traumatize me so deeply. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to understand why the people who are supposed to love me keep leaving. I have no idea that the woman with red hair is about to teach me my first lesson about abandonment. Summer 1929. 459 East Rhode Island Street, Hollywood. I'm 3 years old, playing with my dog Tippy in the backyard, when I hear Ida scream. The woman with red hair is back, but this time she's different. Her eyes are wild, her hair is messy, and she's pushing past Ida with a strength that scares me. She's saying things that don't make sense, talking about people who want to hurt me, about secrets and conspiracies and dangers I don't understand. "You're coming with Mommy, sweetheart," she says, but her voice sounds wrong. Desperate. Like she's running from something invisible. I don't know who this woman is to me. The Bollenders have always called her your mother, but Ida is my mother. Ida is the one who feeds me and bathes me and checks for monsters under my bed. This red-haired stranger is just someone who visits sometimes and makes everyone nervous. When she grabs me, I'm confused more than scared. At first, "This is her home," Ida shouts, trying to pull me back. But the woman is stronger and more desperate. She pushes past Ida, carries me into the house, and locks the door behind us. I can hear Ida pounding on the door, calling my name. I can hear other voices, neighbors maybe, or the police. The woman who claims to be my mother is muttering to herself, pacing around the living room while holding me too tight. Then she disappears into another room and comes back with something that makes my stomach drop with a fear I'm too young to understand. One of Albert Bollander's military duffel bags. "We have to go now, sweetheart. The bad people are coming." She stuffs me into the bag. The world goes dark and airless and terrifying. I can't see, I can barely breathe, and the rough canvas scratches against my face as she zips it closed. I scream until my throat hurts, but the sound is muffled and distant, like I'm screaming underwater. I feel myself being lifted, carried, jostled around as she tries to escape with me. Through the canvas, I can hear Ida's voice getting closer, more frantic. I hear running footsteps, shouting, a struggle. Then the bag splits open. I tumble out onto the ground, gasping and crying and completely disoriented. There are hands reaching for me, multiple pairs of hands, different people trying to grab me, and for a moment I don't know who is safe and who is dangerous. But then I see Ida's face, and without thinking, I reach for her. "Mommy!" I cry out, stretching my arms toward the only mother I've ever really known. The word hangs in the air like an accusation. The red-haired woman stops struggling and stares at me with something that might be heartbreak or rage. Ida scoops me up and carries me into the house, locking the door behind us. Through the window, I watch as the police take the woman away. She's crying now, screaming about conspiracies and kidnapping and how they're all trying to steal her baby. But I'm not her baby. I'm Ida's baby. Aren't I? That night, Ida holds me while I sleep, but I can feel her body shaking. The other children whisper in their beds about what they saw, about the crazy lady who tried to steal me. 1933. 4 years later. I'm 7 now, and I still have nightmares about the duffel bag. Sometimes I wake up feeling like I can't breathe, like the world is closing in around me. Ida holds me when this happens, but I can see the worry in her eyes. The red-haired woman, my real mother, they keep telling me, has been in and out of hospitals. Sometimes she visits, sometimes she doesn't. I've learned not to ask when she's coming back because the adults get that tight look around their eyes, the one that means they're keeping secrets. But then something changes. Suddenly, everyone is talking about me living with her again. Permanently this time. "Your mother has a house now," Grace Goddard explains to me. Grace is Gladys's friend, and she's been coming around more often lately. "She's ready to take care of you." I don't want to go. The Bollanders are my family. This house, with its fig tree and strict routines and weekend Bible readings, is my home. Lester is my brother. Nancy is my sister. Why would I want to live with someone who stuffed me in a bag? But nobody asks what I want. When the day comes to leave, I pack my few belongings in a small suitcase. Ida helps me fold my dresses, her hands shaking slightly. She's trying not to cry, but I can see the tears threatening to spill over. "You be a good girl," she tells me. "And remember what we taught you about Jesus loving you no matter what." The house in Hollywood is different from the Bollanders' home. It's bigger, fancier, with boarders who are actors and actresses. George and Maud Atkinson live there too, with their daughter Nellie. For a few months, it almost feels like a real family. Gladys tries to be a mother to me. She takes me to the movies, shows me how the film industry works since she's a film cutter at Consolidated Film Industries. She tells me stories about the stars on the screen, about the magic of Hollywood. Sometimes, when she's having a good day, I can almost see why people think she's beautiful. But there are bad days too. Days when she talks to people who aren't there, when she peers out the windows like she's watching for enemies, when she forgets to feed me or send me to school. On those days, the Atkinsons take care of me, and I pretend I'm part of their family instead. Then comes the autumn of 1933, and everything falls apart. First, Gladys learns that her grandfather has committed suicide. Then she gets word that her son Jackie, my half-brother, who I've never met, has died of kidney disease. He was only 13. The news breaks something inside her that was already cracked. She starts screaming at night, laughing at inappropriate times, talking about conspiracies and plots against our family. The Atkinsons try to calm her down, but nothing works. One morning, I wake up to find police in our living room and Gladys being carried out on a stretcher, still screaming about people trying to poison her and steal her children. She's going to a place where she can get help, one of the officers tells me, But his voice is too gentle, the way adults talk when they're lying to protect you. September 1935. Los Angeles Orphans Home No. 2. Grace Goddard promises it's temporary. Just until we can figure something out, she says, but I can see the truth in her eyes. No one wants a 9-year-old girl whose mother is in a mental institution and whose father has never existed. Holly Grove Orphanage is clean, organized, efficient. The staff is kind but overwhelmed, caring for hundreds of children who all have similar stories. Parents who died, disappeared, or simply couldn't cope. I'm just another case file, another mouth to feed, another broken child trying to fit into an institutional routine. But I learned something powerful here: how to become someone else. When the other children tease me about my background, about being the crazy lady's kid, I practice smiling until it looks real. When I feel the familiar panic of abandonment rising in my chest, I imagine I'm a character in one of the movies Gladys used to take me to see. I pretend I'm Jean Harlow, confident and beautiful and loved by everyone. I practice walking like her, talking like her, being the kind of person who never gets left behind because she's too valuable to lose. It works. The other children stop teasing me and start watching me instead. The adults notice me more, comment on how pretty I'm becoming, how mature I seem for my age. I learn that beauty and charm are armor against abandonment. Several families express interest in adopting me, but somewhere in her hospital room, Gladys keeps saying no. She won't let me go, but she won't take me back either. I'm trapped in limbo, belonging to no one. In 1937, Grace Goddard finally becomes my legal guardian and takes me out of the orphanage. I'm 11 now, and I think maybe this time will be different. Maybe Grace will be the mother I've been searching for. But Doc Goddard, Grace's husband, has other ideas about what my place in their family should be. The first time he corners me in my bedroom, I freeze. I remember the duffel bag, the feeling of being trapped and helpless. But this is different. This is someone who's supposed to protect me, doing things that make my skin crawl. When I try to tell Grace, she doesn't believe me. Or maybe she doesn't want to believe me. It's easier to think I'm making things up, that I'm seeking attention, that I'm already damaged goods anyway. So I perfect my mask. I smile and pretend nothing happened. I become the charming, grateful foster child who never complains, never makes waves, never admits that the people taking care of her are hurting her. By the time I'm 15, I've mastered the art of being whoever people want me to be. Sweet and innocent for Grace, sophisticated and worldly for the photographers who are starting to notice me, mysterious and unattainable for the boys at school. I've learned that love is conditional, that safety is temporary, and that the only way to survive is to be so perfect, so beautiful, so irresistible that maybe, just maybe, someone will want to keep me. The scared little girl who was stuffed in a duffel bag still lives inside me, but I've built Marilyn Monroe around her like a fortress. August 4, 1962. 7:45 p.m. Peter Lawford's voice is slurred on the other end of the line, but I can hear the panic underneath the alcohol. Marilyn, you need to listen to me very carefully. Bobby was here. At the beach house. He's not happy about the conversation you two had yesterday. My hands are steady as I write this, steadier than they've been in days. Because finally, everything is clear. Tell me something, Peter, I say, keeping my voice soft and sweet, the way they taught me at the studio. Did you know about the listening devices? Did you know they've been recording me for over a year? The silence on the other end tells me everything I need to know. Marilyn, listen, why don't you come over? Pat's making dinner. We can talk about all this. I'm not coming over, Peter. And I'm not running away. I'm done being afraid. I hang up the phone and turn to the final pages of my notebook. My handwriting looks different now, calmer, more deliberate. Like I've finally found my voice after years of speaking in someone else's words. If you are reading this, then what I feared most has come to pass. But before you judge what happened to me, you need to understand what I discovered. 20 minutes ago, I called my lawyer. Not the studio lawyer, not the one Bobby recommended, but the one person I trust completely. I told him about a safety deposit box in a bank downtown. About recordings and photographs and documents that tell a story the world needs to hear. If something happens to me, I said, wait 10 years. Then open that box. Then tell everyone the truth. He tried to argue with me, tried to convince me I was being paranoid. But I'm not paranoid. I'm prepared. Dr. Green's son arrives at 8:15, just like I knew he would. Just like they planned. "How are you feeling tonight, Marilyn?" he asks, setting his medical bag on my dresser. "I'm feeling clarity," I tell him. For the first time in months, I know exactly what's happening. He prepares a syringe, my medication, he calls it, but I see the way his hands shake. I see the way he won't meet my eyes. "Before you do that," I say quietly, "I want you to know that I've left instructions. If something happens to me tonight, if I have another one of my accidents, there are people who will ask questions. People who will investigate." Dr. Green's son freezes. "Marilyn, you're not thinking clearly. The stress, the medication, it's affecting your judgment." "My judgment is fine. I know exactly what this is about. I know why Bobby came to see me yesterday. I know why you're here tonight. And I know that after tonight, none of it will matter anymore." The injection burns as it enters my bloodstream, but I keep writing until the very last moment. Until my vision blurs and my hand grows too heavy to hold the pen. Tell them that Marilyn Monroe wasn't crazy. Tell them she wasn't a suicide. Tell them she was a woman who learned too much about the wrong people and paid the price for refusing to stay silent. Present day, from the discovery of the hidden notebooks. 50 years later, the truth finally emerged from a forgotten safety deposit box in downtown Los Angeles. When Marilyn Monroe's lawyer passed away in 2012, his estate revealed the existence of documents that had been sealed since August 1962. Among them were 3 notebooks filled with Marilyn's handwriting, her own account of the final week of her life. The woman who wrote these words was not the fragile victim history had painted her to be. She was a survivor, a strategist, and ultimately, a truth-teller who understood the price of knowledge in a world where power meant everything. I want to be remembered not as the woman who died too young, but as the woman who refused to die quietly. Those words, written in Marilyn's distinctive script on the last page of her final notebook, have become a rallying cry for a new generation of women who refuse to be silenced by powerful men. Dr. Thomas Noguchi, the coroner who performed Marilyn's autopsy, later admitted that certain evidence from the scene had been misplaced or lost during the investigation. Phone records from August 4, 1962, disappeared from police files. The original timeline of events was changed multiple times. But Marilyn had anticipated all of this. Hidden in various locations around Los Angeles, in the homes of trusted friends, in safety deposit boxes, even in a hollowed-out space behind her bathroom mirror, investigators found a treasure trove of evidence that painted a very different picture of America's most famous death. Recordings of phone conversations. Photographs of government documents. Detailed notes about meetings that were never supposed to have happened. And most damning of all, medical records showing that the drugs found in Marilyn's system could not have been self-administered in the way the coroner claimed. The FBI files on Marilyn Monroe, partially declassified in the 1990s, confirm what her notebook suggested. She had been under surveillance for months before her death. She had been considered a security risk not because of her politics, but because of her relationships with men who shared classified information. The Kennedy family's official response to these revelations was silence. But former Secret Service agents, speaking anonymously, confirmed that both John and Robert Kennedy had been concerned about Marilyn's increasing demands for public acknowledgement of their relationships. She wanted them to choose her over their political careers, one agent recalled. She didn't understand that for men like that, nothing comes before power. Today, visitors to Marilyn Monroe's grave at Westwood Memorial Park leave not just flowers, but notebooks and pens. They come to honor a woman who used her words as weapons when she had nothing else left to fight with. Her story reminds us that truth has a way of surviving, even when those who speak it don't. It reminds us that the most dangerous thing a woman can do is remember, and write down, everything. Marilyn Monroe died at age 36, but her words lived on. Her truth lived on. And in a world where powerful men still try to silence inconvenient women, her legacy matters more than ever. Because the truth, as Marilyn wrote in her final entry, always finds a way to surface. Even when it takes 50 years. Subscribe for more untold stories. Like this video if the truth matters to you. And remember, when they try to silence you, write it down. Make them work to erase your voice. June 19, 1942. Van Nuys, California. At 16, I marry James Doherty not because I love him, but because it's better than going back to the orphanage. Grace and Doc are moving to West Virginia for his new job, and they make it clear they don't want to take me with them. You have two choices, Grace tells me with that practical tone she uses when she's making decisions about my life. Marriage or the orphanage. Jim is handsome, stable, 20 years old to my 16. He has a good job at Lockheed Aircraft, a steady income, and most importantly, he wants me. Not the way Doc Goddard wanted me. Jim's desire feels clean, honest, safe. For 4 years, I try to be Mrs. James Doherty. I learn to cook his favorite meals, keep house the way his mother taught me, smile when he comes home from work. When he ships out to the South Pacific with the Marines, I move in with his parents and work at the radio plane munitions factory, doing my part for the war effort. But even with a wedding ring on my finger, even with in-laws who seem to care about me, the abandoned little girl inside me never feels truly safe. I catch myself watching Jim's face for signs that he's getting tired of me, listening to his voice for hints that he's planning to leave. When photographer David Conover discovers me at the factory in 1944, something awakens in me that I'd forgotten existed: ambition. Not just the desire to be loved, but the need to be more than just someone's wife, more than just another pretty girl who got rescued from a bad situation. The camera loves me in a way that feels different from anything I've experienced. When I'm posing for photographs, I'm not Norma Jean the abandoned child or Mrs. Doherty the grateful wife. I'm someone new, someone powerful, someone who can make people stop and stare and want. I bleach my brown curls platinum blonde and change my name to Marilyn Monroe. The transformation is more than cosmetic, it's psychological. Marilyn is everything Norma Jean was afraid to be: confident, sexy, unashamed of her beauty and its power. When Jim returns from the war in 1946, he barely recognizes me. The shy teenager he married has become something else, someone whose picture appears in magazines, whose name is starting to be whispered in Hollywood casting offices. "I want you to choose," he tells me one night, and I can hear the desperation in his voice. "Me or this modeling career? You can't have both." But he doesn't understand. The camera doesn't abandon me. Success doesn't leave me. Fame might be fickle, but it's still more reliable than love has ever been. I file for divorce and sign my first studio contract with 20th Century Fox within months of each other. Jim is heartbroken, but I feel liberated for the first time in my life. I'm 20 years old, and I finally understand my survival strategy. If I can make myself famous enough, beautiful enough, desirable enough to millions of people, maybe I'll never have to depend on just one person's love again. August 4th, 1962. Brentwood, California. I'm 36 years old now, lying in my bed at 12305 Fifth Helena Drive, and I'm still that 3-year-old child who cried, "Mommy," to a stranger in a moment of terror. 3 marriages have ended. Countless affairs have burned out. The fame I thought would save me has become another kind of prison. I've been loved by millions but known by few, desired by everyone but truly understood by no one. Tonight, as I take the pills that will either help me sleep or help me disappear forever, I think about all the homes I've lost. The Bollander's house with its fig tree and Sunday sermons. The brief months with Gladys when I thought we might be a real family. The orphanage where I learned to smile through pain. The foster homes where I was never quite safe enough. Even this house, which I bought hoping it would finally be my permanent sanctuary, feels temporary. The tiles by the front door read, "Cursum Perficio," my journey ends here. Did I know, when I chose those words, that they would be prophetic? The pattern that began in that duffel bag has repeated itself my entire life. Love me, leave me, break me, move on. Charles Grable did it. Joe DiMaggio did it. Arthur Miller did it. And now Jack Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy have done it too, cutting me off like I never existed once I became inconvenient to their political ambitions. Each abandonment echoes back to that first one, when a mentally ill woman stuffed her terrified daughter into a bag and tried to steal her away from the only stability she'd ever known. Each betrayal confirms what I learned at 3 years old. People leave, safety is an illusion, and love is conditional. But there's something else I learned from that trauma, something that made me who I became: resilience. The little girl who survived being abandoned, abused, and shuffled between homes grew up to become the most famous woman in the world. The child who was told she wasn't pretty enough, smart enough, or worthy enough proved them all wrong. I became Marilyn Monroe because Norma Jean Baker wasn't allowed to exist safely in the world. I created a persona so powerful, so magnetic, so perfect that maybe, just maybe, she would be impossible to abandon. And in some ways, it worked. 60 years after my death, people still can't let go of Marilyn Monroe. My image is still on posters and t-shirts and coffee mugs. My movies still play on screens around the world. My story is still told and retold, analyzed and mythologized. The little girl who was afraid of being forgotten has become unforgettable. But tonight, in this house that was supposed to be my final home, I understand the cruel irony of my life. I made myself into someone who could never be abandoned by becoming someone who could never truly be known. The abandoned child finally found a way to be loved forever. She just had to die to make it happen. Subscribe for more untold stories of Hollywood's hidden pain. Like this video if you believe every person deserves to be loved for who they really are, not just who they pretend to be. And remember, behind every perfect smile is a human being who just wants to belong somewhere, to someone, permanently.